Hi there, welcome to our park, Derbyshire. My name is Jake, I'm one of the guys who might be looking after you today. Making sure you're safe, happy and leaving in one piece at the end of all this. Before we start, we're going to introduce the machines that we're going to be using today, explain a few things about how these work, then we're going to explain a few things about what we're going to try and do today. What we're trying to achieve and how we expect you guys to conduct yourselves. ATV riding, that's what these are, all-terrain vehicles. It's a motorised activity and it's an off-road activity as well. These two elements combined make it fairly dangerous. You can turn machines over, you can hurt yourselves and you could potentially injure yourselves. But these are all things that we're trying to avoid today as much as possible. Now ATVs handle very differently to cars and very differently to motorbikes. So we spend a bit of time just going through the controls to make sure that you're all aware of how these machines handle very differently. What we're doing today is a group activity. You've generally come with other people. What we try and do is drive within the abilities of the group. Okay, so it isn't a competition amongst you guys, it's about you all trying to help each other get through what we're trying to do. Now some of you guys may have ridden ATVs before, some of you guys may have never seen an ATV before and are wondering what we're doing here today. So we're going to try and work together to individually get out of this what the group can achieve overall. We're not focusing primarily on speed, aggression or being out of control. We're trying to focus on 100% control 100% of the time through precision, control and accuracy. Now the good thing is the machines that we're using today are very simple and straightforward to use. Even if you've never seen one before, within a few minutes you're going to be able to ride it competently. Now the bad thing happens that after 5 minutes on the machine, that easy to ride that some people think they're the most amazing quad bike riders in the world. So the idea is to not drive beyond your abilities. The idea is to recognise when you feel comfortable, when you feel relaxed and simply drive within your abilities. There is no pressure to do anything that you don't feel 100% comfortable with doing today. Everything's about you riding your machine. Instructors can obviously advise you on how to use the machines correctly and the proper techniques, but ultimately they are not riding the machines for you, only you are. So recognise when you feel comfortable, recognise when you feel relaxed and recognise when you feel in control. We're going to spend a bit of time now going through the controls on the machine and explaining how they start, so we'll progress through with that part of the video now. Starting the ATVs, all the controls we're using today are located on the handlebars. We have a thumb throttle accelerator on the right hand side and we have a brake lever on the left hand side. The drive selector, the gear lever, is on the right hand side of the tank and this has got three positions. We've got forwards, neutral and reverse, so the machines go forwards and they go backwards. We're going to try and go forwards as much as possible. That's the preferred direction that we want to be going in today. We start the ATVs using the key in the dash area. Turn the key towards the 12 o'clock position, that makes everything live on the machine. Turn the key towards the 1 o'clock position and the machine will turn over and start. Okay? We can turn the machine off on the key as well by turning it back towards the 11 o'clock position. Like I mentioned, the controls are on the handlebars, thumb throttle on the right, brake lever on the left. The thumb throttle is the main control that we're going to be using today, increasing speed of the machine and decreasing speed of the machine as well. The technique we're going to use on the throttle lever is one of millimetre movements. Okay, so the idea is to build it very, very gradually and find the engagement point of the wheels. Once you've got the wheels moving, the idea is to be able to keep your thumb in the same position and the speed is going to stay the same. Now our position of thumb on the throttle is going to give us the most control. What we try and do is use from the strong part right the way through to the thin part. Common mistake a lot of people make, they just try and use the tip of the thumb. If you use the tip of your thumb, it puts a lot of pressure in your knuckle and after 5 minutes you can feel like your hand's going to fall off. So using the strong part through to the thin part across the full length of the lever is going to give you the maximum amount of control throughout the track today. When we're slowing the machines down, we're simply going to take our thumb away from the throttle lever and we're going to wrap it around the grip. Okay. As we're driving along, we're constantly changing our speed according to the conditions. Okay. As much as we'd want to, we can't just peg the throttle wide open and expect to survive. You have to change your speed according to what the conditions allow us to do. Primarily, we're going to be slowing the machines down for corners. These machines don't go around corners as well as they go in a straight line. They can tip over quite easily, so we're going to slow down to lessen the chance of that happening. We're going to slow the machines down for bumpy sections. Okay, the terrain is varied and when it starts to become a bit more extreme, we naturally slow down to give ourselves more control in those areas. Water, another area where we can obviously lose control quite easily, so again we're going to slow down for the water hazards and that's going to give us greater control in these areas as well. We slow down for these areas to give ourselves more control, okay, rather than accelerating into the areas to make them more interesting. Hazardous areas, we can have problems occur very, very quickly, so we need to slow down as we're approaching these areas to give ourselves more control. Most of the time, just taking your thumb away from the throttle is going to mean the machine is going to slow down coming into these hazardous areas. Sometimes though, you might be coming into a corner, for example, you've removed your thumb away from the throttle completely, but this machine is still carrying too much speed and you want to slow it down even further. You can then use the brake lever to do that. Okay. The most important thing about the two controls on the handlebars today is that we do them separately. You do one thing first, take your thumb away from the throttle. Second thing then, you can use the brake lever. And remember, we're using 4 fingers on the brake lever, applying pressure to all 4 wheels on the machine. So it's a really cool braking system. The technique we want to be using when using the brakes is what we call a technique of walking. Okay, so when you're going down hills and banks, the idea is that you apply and release the brake in quick succession, sort of like a manual ABS system. What that's going to allow the machine to do is move a little bit down the bank and then it's going to stop. Then it's going to move and stop, move and stop, move and stop, walking the bike progressively down the bank. You're in complete control the whole time. Any problems during that descent, you can just pull full on the brake and the bike's going to stop moving, no more problems. Try and be as relaxed as you can with the controls today. Everything that we're going to do on the trek can potentially be done at the speed that I was doing during the demonstration a second ago. So whether it's through mud, whether it's going up through water, whether it's going up hills or banks, it can all be done at the slowest speed where necessary. There are no times ever on the trek you just close your eyes, grab everything and hope for the best. That never works as a technique on these machines. Everything we do is intentional through techniques we develop with you guys when you're actually on the machines. So keeping it smooth, keeping it fluid, keeping it calm, keep it relaxed, the machine is going to work perfectly for you today. The more aggressive you are with the controls, the more aggressive the reaction of the machine is. So the idea is to be relaxed and smooth, and the reaction of the machine will be relaxed and smooth as well. Now when you're sat on the ATV, the idea is to try and position yourself as close to the handlebars as comfortably possible. The reason for this, it gives you more upper body strength. It means you can turn the machine completely right and completely left through the full range of movement. The further away from the handlebars that you sit, the more control issues you're going to have. The harder it is to control the machine and the more chance of falling off the back of the bike. So the idea is to keep your weight to the front of the machine. Try and keep your feet as close to the inside of the machine as possible. If you drive with your feet sticking out or trying to put your feet on the floor, you could potentially get grabbed by the back wheel, broken ankles and broken knees. We don't want that to happen today, so try and keep your feet on the machine at all times. The terrain that we're driving around today is similar to what's around us now, so it's not completely flat, but it's not completely crazy as well. Holding on with your legs, holding on with your hands, that's going to get you through everything we need to do today. Now we're going to change our body position though, actually on the machines, as we're driving over the hazards. ATV riding is what you call rider active. That means you're playing a part in how the machine actually handles when we're out there. The idea or guideline is to always lean to the uphill side where possible. So if I'm going forwards up a hill, top of the hill's in front of me, I'm going to keep my weight to that direction, so that stops me feeling like I'm falling off the back of the bike. Once I've gone over the top of the hill's behind me, so I'm going to shift my weight to the back of the machine. That's going to stop me feeling like I'm going over the handlebars. Traversing across the side of any hills or banks, again, keeping our weight to the uphill side, that's going to keep the machine tracking in a nice straight line. It means you're more comfortable on the machine, and it means the machine's going to get through what we're doing today a lot easier. As we're driving along today, the idea is to try and keep the handlebars as level and as straight as possible. Like I say, these machines go better in a straight line than they do around corners. So if you're driving along swinging the handlebars from side to side, the machine can potentially flip over and crash quite easily. So the idea is to keep it rock solid and straight where possible. Now obviously we are going to be turning the handlebars though to make the machine turn around the corners. But whenever you move the handlebars, move them a very, very small amount. So the reaction of the machine isn't aggressive. Simply pick up the line of travel with your eyes, turn the handlebars and then gently lean into the direction of the turn. Whichever way you're turning, that's the way that you want to be leaning your upper body weight, again, to make the machine feel more stable and to make you feel comfortable on the machine. As the instructors are demonstrating to you driving along how to move, all you've got to do is copy what they're doing and it will make 100% more sense when you're actually out there. But it's rider active, you are playing a part in how the machine actually handles when we're out there. As we're driving along today, we're going to be using our eyes to identify hazards. Hazards are everything all around us. Okay, there's two main types of hazard: physical hazards and terrain hazards. Physical hazards are hazards that we can potentially drive into. So these are all around us, large objects. We simply identify these and then try and drive as far away from them as possible. So it's fairly easy to sort of navigate these areas. The terrain hazards, these are a bit more subtle. These are the ones that catch people out the most, cause the control issues. So the idea is that you're constantly scanning the area in front of your machine and assessing the terrain so you know the correct speed to be going at. Okay? It's about changing your speed according to what the conditions allow us to do. We don't go the same speed the whole way around. The weather conditions can affect it, and obviously the terrain conditions affect it as well. We might be going from a gravel track to a grass field. through a bumpy section, through a water section. The machine is going to handle differently in all these areas. So it's about understanding how the machine changes and how we change our technique according to these hazards around us. The bigger the hazards in front of you, the slower you're going to go. The more hazards in front of you, the slower you're going to go. So it's a constant process of understanding, analysing, and then deciding, and then executing your decision. Most of the time, just getting your thumb away from the throttle is going to slow the machine down to give yourself more time to think about the hazards. So if in doubt, just get your thumb away from the throttle, the machine will slow down, and then you can assess the area a bit more accurately. As we're driving along, if you can't quite see which way the guy in front went through and you've got a choice between bumpy, difficult stuff and nice, smooth stuff, try and go with the smooth stuff where possible. It's about making smart choices that are easy for yourself and easy for the machine as well. If we're driving along a track, for example, and there's loads of potholes, don't try and avoid all the potholes because that creates other control issues as well. We simply take a nice straight line, we slow the machine down, and we absorb the impact of the bumps as we're driving through these areas. The instructors will talk a bit more about this when we're actually out there, but this is the part, obviously, which we're trying to get across most, that it isn't the same track the whole way around, and we need to make assessments as we're driving along. Anytime you've got any problems on the machine, you're just going to come straight off the gas and wrap your thumb around the grip as fast as possible, and then we simply apply the brake lever as soon as we can. Okay, that's going to stop the machine, and then obviously avoid any problems, hopefully as soon as we can. As we're driving along today, if we ever need to talk to you, the group, what we're going to do is stop side by side. Okay, so what the instructor will generally do is stop, and they'll instruct you where to pull up. So it's generally side by side to each other. The reason we pull up side by side is so people don't drive into the back of the guy in front. Okay, we can then talk to you specifically about the areas that we're going to be driving around when we're actually out there in a bit more detail. So that will make a bit more sense when we're out there. As we're driving along, we need to leave a nice gap in between, probably about 10 bike lengths. That's going to be an ideal sort of distance you want to leave between yourself and the person in front. What you'll find today is the closer you are to the person in front during the trek, the more pressure it puts on you and the more pressure it puts on the person in front as well. The more restricted your trek will actually be. Because we've come as a group today, guys, we're all different, and what we need to understand is that we all learn at different speeds. So it's about this understanding, giving and taking, making sure that everybody's comfortable and happy out there. So whatever the gap is between the instructor and number one in the group, that's what you guys need to try and replicate between you as well. That will make a bit more sense, like I say, when we're actually out there. But again, the instructors will talk about this when we're out there. If the guy in front has any problems or issues with their machine, just stop where they are, and then the instructors can sort any problems out that might be developing out there. We're going to start down here today, learning the basics and the foundations. Everything I've just spoke about is going to start to make a bit more sense. And then we're going to start building the trek gradually as we're going through. Okay, so it's a progressive learning curve. We start simple and easy so the whole group can learn what we're doing. And then we introduce new skills and new areas depending on how the group is conducting themselves. Depending on how high we get here, that depends on how the group is conducting themselves. So it's going to be slow and steady to start with, just so we can all get used to the machine. So if the pace is a bit steady for some, just stick with it. You'll understand we're trying to make sure everybody's comfortable and happy out there. Keep it nice and relaxed with your hands. Everything's about being smooth, everything's about being fluid, everything's about being calm, everything's about being relaxed. The more tense and aggressive everything is on the ATVs, the harder it is to do what we're doing today. So the harder is to be nice and relaxed. If anything does hurt when you're out there, it means you could potentially be doing it better. So have a nice relaxed grip, maybe sort of just relax the shoulders, relax your arms. Everything should flow and be nice and smooth. Once we're finished, like I say, you'll understand, obviously this is going to make a lot more sense, but just to start with, we're going to take it step by step as we're going through. Don't forget to smile when you're out there. It's about having a good time, but it's about being safe. We're trying to have 100% control, 100% of the time, and we're going to have a spectacular time on these machines today. Thanks very much for listening. Any questions or problems you may have, please talk to your instructors, and they'll inform you further on any information that you require. Have a good trek. See you later.